folks, this is Mrs. Sin. I am giving you a video here on our next topic, which is absolute value equations. This is the first topic in our second unit. Congratulations on finishing your first test for math in high school. That's awesome. You all did great. So now I have a lot of grading to do today. All right, let's take a look at absolute value equations. We've seen absolute value bars when we've been doing PEMDAS. So this should look somewhat familiar, although the way we're going to deal with it is a little different. Because notice there is no number inside the absolute value. So let's talk about what this means. So for number one, when I see something like the absolute value of x equals 6, what this is really asking for is for all numbers whose distance to 0 is 6. So let's look at a number line, get a visual on this. We know that 6 is definitely 6 units away from 0. But there's another number that's also 6 units away from 0. That's going to be -6. So as far as which numbers have a distance of 6 units to 0, we get two answers. We get 6 and -6. All right. Now that we've seen that, let's do another. We'll actually do a couple more just to get the hang of it. So the second equation is the absolute value of x equals 5. So now we're looking for all numbers whose distance to 0 is 5 units. So again, let's put a visual on this. If that's 0, I know that 5 is 5 units away from 0. So that would be one answer. But another possible value for x could be -5, because we could talk about 5 units to the left of 0 as opposed to 5 units to the right. All right, let's look at this last equation here. It says, you probably know where I'm going with this now, all numbers whose distance to 0 is -9. Well, that should make you pause a little bit because of the negative. We can't have a negative distance. That sounds weird. Think about it in real life. If you are talking about how far away you are from school, you wouldn't say, oh, I'm about -1 miles from school. That sounds weird. You would just say I'm 1 mile from school. So distance is never negative. So the fact that this absolute value equals a negative number really it's not something we could do. This is no solution. Can't have negative distance. So to account for the fact that we have numbers both to the left and the right of 0, if you are given the absolute value of x equals a, where a is just some number, could be 6, could be 5, could be 23, could be 506, we don't know. If we're given that, we end up creating branches, and we say that x could be a, or x could be -a. And this is the first of many, many times throughout this entire year we're going to be using branches. So let me do a couple examples with you so you can see what am I talking about. How is this really going to work? So notice I have some steps up there. We'll go through those in class on Thursday. But let me just do some examples where I walk through those steps. So the first step is to get the absolute value part by itself. So in the first question, that means I have to move the 3. So I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. Now, one thing I need to check is, does the absolute value equal a negative number? In this case, it does not. So now I can do my branches. And I get x equals 5 or x equals negative 5. So those are going to be my two answers. Let's take a look at a slightly more complicated problem. So here, notice the 2 and the negative 6 are around the absolute value of x. So first, I'm going to move the 6, and then I'm going to divide both sides by 2. So now I have the absolute value of x equals 9. So again, that's asking me, what are all the numbers whose distance to 0 is 9? So I create my branches, and I get x equals 9, or x equals negative 9. Let's look at one last example before I let you go. We will be doing more absolute value equations in class on Thursday. This is just to get you started. So negative 3 times the absolute value of x, I'm going to subtract that 8. And then I'm going to divide by the negative 3. Okay, so I'm going to get negative, let's see, 8 thirds. So like negative 2 and 2 thirds. Yuck. One thing I want to take pause on though is I do have a negative number over here. So that means that I'm not going to do branches. I'm going to say there's no solution. Absolute value cannot equal a negative number. So that's just a little preview of what we'll be doing more of on Thursday. Or the equations we're going to start looking at on Thursday have more complicated expressions inside the absolute value than just an x. So these were very simple examples. Hopefully you were able to follow along. We'll be doing more examples on Thursday and hopefully more complicated ones. All right, folks, congratulations on finishing your first test, and I will see you on Thursday.